Okay, so I looked at how well the Ishizoku Reviews video did, and oh my god, it actually did really well for a comeback video. Not to mention I highly underestimated the length on that video. Like 21 minutes? Really? I thought that it would be at most, I don't know, about 15? Like, Jesus Christ.
This is what you get for underestimating the length of the video.
Anyways, to continue our sort of extension to the anime marathon, since we started this whole thing on October and it's continuing into March with our 5th video now, I thought that I would want to talk about a series that I literally won't shut up about on Twitter and now basically everywhere else. A series that I hold near and dear to my heart. A series that excels in plot and most other things to, dare I say, every other slice of life before and after it. Guys, it's that time. And with that, welcome one, welcome all to yet another commentary. Hi, my name is Leeson, I'm 18 years old, I'm a straight male, I'm pretty damn nerdy, and I frickin' love Clannad. And I guess Dragon Ball, JoJo, Mob Psycho, My Hero, all that other stuff's cool. Anyways, yeah, it's no surprise to anyone that I love this series. Those who watch my newer videos, and especially those who follow me on Twitter, @LeesonTV, will know this. If you follow or are subscribed to me on either of these two platforms, you'll most likely see or hear Clannad coming up a lot. I won't shut up about this series, and for a good reason. It's amazing. I mean, to get above 8, or in the case of After Story, or basically the second season, at one point getting above 9 on my anime list is an achievement all in itself. So then, why is it rated so high? I could tell you one thing, it ain't because of some Nuxtaku wannabe cheating the system like Ishizoku, buddy. These are some premium ratings here, bucko. Mwah, chef kiss. We do be kinda like slacking though. Interesting piece of trivia, the Clannad anime is actually based off of a visual novel. You see, Clannad originally was a visual novel that was made and produced by Visual Arts and Key in 2004. Yeah, more than 15 years ago. And with this visual novel, it brought us a variety of characters, lovable or debatable, and many different routes to choose from, all yielding different conclusions. If you've played a visual novel before, you obviously know how they work. Older visual novel games from Key, like Canon from 1999 and Air from the year 2000, paved the way for Clannad's conception. Clannad became pretty well known as one of Key's most successful visual novels, receiving a spin-off titled Tomoya After It's a Wonderful Life in 2005. The main game then made its way onto all of these consoles and platforms listed here. You may be like, okay Leeson, these are cool facts and all, but what does this have to do with anything? You said that the anime was based on the game, and that's nice, but what does this mean? Well, pretty much everything as soon as we come to realize that we are dealing with the adaptations of the story here. That's literally what the video was about. I could gush about Clannad as much as I wanted to, but we're doing a review of the particular adaptation of the visual novel here. It's not a gush sesh, okay? Anyways, these aforementioned adaptations are the Clannad movie and the Clannad anime out on TV. Coincidentally being released less than a month apart from each other, with the movie being released on September 15, 2007 and the anime initially airing on October 4th, 2007. These two adaptations were worked on by different animation studios, Toei Animation and Kyoto Animation respectively. God bless those poor souls. The Clannad anime was the one that I watched, the one that I know about the most, and the one that I talk about to everyone. I'm not going to talk about the story through the visual novel because I don't have the visual novel, sadly. I've only watched the anime, which is the most loyal to the Nagisa route of the visual novel. Also, it's a visual novel where you can make your own decisions, choose your own path, and it's 80 to 100 hours long, so yeah. So for the anime, we have 47 main story episodes and 2 OVAs worth of adapted visual novel material, all lovingly put into 2 seasons, Clannad and Clannad After Story. While the first 23 episodes of Clannad were there to give you an introduction to the world, you know, just to add a little bit that good old world building, development of the characters and significance of locations, nice stuff. The season basically just gets you accustomed to the fictional town of Ikarizaka. The first 24 in After Story, on the other hand, are there to give you a tour into Tomoya's ever-changing life and are there to teach you about the struggles of adulthood and growing up. Also, it hits you right in the feels. Its impact is pretty darn huge if you ask me. Yeah, the first season of Clannad isn't so bad on an emotional level, but After Story is a damn tearjerker in comparison. I'm purposely saying 47 main story episodes because there are actually 49 episodes of the Clannad anime, and the other 2 episodes of each season are the 2 OVAs of the Clannad anime, the Tomoyo chapter and the Kyo chapter, which are optional optional to watch as they have nothing to do with the main story, but you can watch them at your leisure, but I personally prefer that you should watch them, you know, for the sake of it. And you should probably watch them after you watch the other episodes of the first season and after story. That's just my preference though, that's how I watch Clannad. Anyways, enough of the preferences, I'm going to briefly explain the arcs of Clannad. I use arcs loosely because they're rather the sections that revolve around a certain character or a certain goal that Tomoya and the gang has to achieve, and they last anywhere from 1 episode to around 4 or 5 episodes. Here I have listed episodes of both seasons that I would consider belonging in a particular arc or section of said seasons. I'll only go into some detail about the introduction as I am trying to not give major spoilers to the story, and because damn it I really want you guys to watch this if you haven't already. The introduction arc is, well, an introduction arc. Oh my god, an introduction arc introduces us to the anime? No way. Anyways, the first 3 episodes are the ones that allow you to become a little accustomed to the world and they provide world building and give the viewers their first impressions about each character. The main character here is a guy named Tomoya Okazaki, a 3rd year student and a delinquent who doesn't enjoy life in his hometown. One day he meets up with a girl named Nagisa Furukawa on their way to school. Nagisa has the exact opposite mindset of Tomoya, saying that she loves their school as it holds special memories, however she's worried that things may change in the future. Now, this line is important, the whole things change part, because as you go through the anime you'll find out what it really means by this much later on. Just, you know, something to keep in mind. You want to make a little note of that in your head. Anyways, further into the episodes you'll find our other main characters, namely Yohei Tsunohara, who is Tomoya's best friend, partner in crime, a big wuss, yeah, that's Tsunohara for you. Kyo Fujibayashi, who is the bold aggressive type. Note this one down, don't upset a sister or dictionary may hit you square in the face and knock you out. Tomoyo Sakagami, who is a literal fighting machine, damn, who trained you? The soft-spoken yet soft, cute and big-brained Katomi Ichinose, and Fuko Ibuki, who is quite the case. She just has a mind unlike anyone else's. Each of these characters, and I mean each of them, yes, including Yurio, have something important to do with the main story of Clannad. Yeah, there are also the likes of Yukine Miyazawa, Mei Tsunohara, Fuko's sister Koko, and Nagisa's parents Sanai and Akio, who are side characters that have something important to do with the plot, but those plot lines and development are all in their respected arcs and don't necessarily have all that much to do with the main story in the long run. Except for Sanai and Akio, they'll be a part of the plot as long as Nagisa is. The point here is that each character is vital to the main story, and this is very important for this video because since we're going to be analysing and reviewing the movie, another adaptation, we need to take everything we know about the Clannad anime, which I've already said earlier is very similar to the plot of the visual novel, and use that knowledge we have to fairly assess the movie. Now, I will be giving the movie a few benefits of the doubt that may not be necessary in the long run, but I'll just put them here anyways in the case that I nitpick the unnecessary stuff. Firstly, the movie was released before the Clannad anime even aired, although I don't think this necessarily matters given that the visual novel came out 3 years prior. However, it's a benefit of the doubt anyway considering I've only watched the KyoAni anime adaptation and haven't really played the visual novel for myself just yet. Secondly, the movie is about 90 minutes long, and compared to the anime being around 1,100 plus minutes, or almost 20 hours as a whole for the main story, I would assume that it would be the same amount of time for the Nagisa route in the visual novel, and yeah, there would need to be quite a few time skips and cuts in the plot of the movie to Google non-existent anime style. Lastly, I'm also considering the different animation studios of the movie and the anime themselves as a benefit of the doubt. They would have had different directing teams and artists and all sorts for Toei and KyoAni, so as a result some things may be different about either the movie or the anime either way. Alright, with all that being said, obvious spoiler warning on, let's get into it. Okay. I sort of lied. Before we actually get into the meat and bones of the Clannad movie, I want to also make sure I say this before I go on. Firstly, I made 2 pauses throughout the duration of the movie. One pause is almost like 10 minutes in, and the other is around 40 minutes in. The first pause was just to gather my initial thoughts about the movie at that point, and the second pause was because it was getting to 2 in the morning and I had to sleep, but I documented everything up until that point and watched the other 50 minutes the next day. I also want to make sure that I say that I'll only be talking about the movie thoroughly up until where the after story events occur, which is about 67 minutes in. Yes, I kept track of the duration and everything. I won't talk about the after story events because I don't want to give away any major spoilers for the plot, because plot of the movie and the anime are basically somewhat similar but different in their own way. Okay, let's actually get into this time. Starting off, we're given a weird start with Tomoya having a dream which gets elaborated on later, but then he wakes up ignoring his dad like usual, showing the distance from one another, and goes to school, all that stuff. We can assume from how the movie starts out that this is basically the first day of his 3rd year, just like we can assume in the anime. The art style here is okay, I guess. It's not KyoAni anime tier, but in some aspects it sort of rivals Key's original artwork in a certain department. In some ways it excels, in others not so much. The art style isn't exactly Clannad's original artwork designs, but that's okay, we're not supposed to be judging it on looks. These things aren't supposed to look exactly alike. And you know the deal with this one, Tomoya meets Nagisa, however there's something different with the interaction, as Nagisa doesn't have a whole monologue as you would expect. Rather, she just meets Tomoya then and there and asks him if she can walk up the hill with him, which is something weird considering that no interaction was like that in the anime, but again, benefit of the doubt, it's Toei's own take on Clannad, changes are to be expected. Now we're in the classroom and Tomoya is asked to wake up Sunahara by the teacher, and he does so in quite the fashion. Wait, Sunahara biting people? What a weapon. In fact, this whole segment with Sunahara did actually make me laugh. Sunahara is the same as he usually is in the visual novel and the anime. It's good to see that even in this adaptation we get to see Sunahara's comedic moments and the moments where he shines as a character. He is the comic relief after all. So we got 2 characters that are pretty much the same so far, and that's cool. I wonder what they'll do with the other characters in this. And speaking of the devil, or should I say angel, it's Kotomi! And that's it for her. She just conducts the school choir and has no sort of interaction with any of the main characters. Wow. Okay. I mean, I get the whole thing with her liking music. That trait still sticks with her and it links with her violin, but isn't her whole thing supposed to be that she's soft-spoken and hides herself in the library since she's not sociable? Why is she conducting the school choir if that's supposed to be the case? I'm assuming that Toei did this to her, but it's such a downgrade to her character because she actually had a lot to do with the plot in the visual novel and anime, and she's just reduced to a choir conductor. Nah, okay, cool, sure. Benefit of the doubt. Still disheartens me that they did this to her though. As well as Kotomi, we also have Kyo and Tomoyo in this movie, and they get some treatment at least, which is nice to see. Tomoyo is already the student council president, whereas in the visual novel or the anime, her dream was to become the student council president, so at least they have that link. And Kyo here is supposed to be Tomoyo's support? I don't know, she's by her side most of the time in this movie. She could be anything like that. And Kyo does show her boldness in the scene, so their characters are pretty much almost like the ones in the anime or the visual novel, it seems. For now, at least. Also, there were talks about the school festival or something. Work is underway, I don't know. Alright, the first pause is here, and from first impressions, it doesn't seem to be all too bad at the moment. I've been told by other Clannad fans on Twitter that it was pretty bad, but for the first 10 minutes, nothing seems to be too off-putting other than the difference in roles. And the fact that some characters just seem to be non-existent in the story, like Fuko and Ryo, and to some extent Kotomi. Even from the first 2 minutes, I can tell that this adaptation is not supposed to be anything like the anime, and therefore different from the visual novel. But like I said, as a benefit of the doubt, some things may be different between each adaptation. We still have 80 minutes left though, so something familiar may occur. Alright, let's get back into it. From the 10-minute mark, we are given our first mentions of another world. Tomoya seems to be a bodiless consciousness roaming in the bleak landscapes. He then later uses a sort of marionette for the vessel of his soul. This other world doesn't feature the girl and robot that we know of in the anime or the visual novel. Rather, it just seems to be Tomoya as the marionette walking in a barren wasteland. Nothing really important happens from there up until the 13-minute mark, where we are given more information as to why Tomoya can't lift his arm too high. Like Tomoya said in the anime, his dad did do something to him that caused Tomoya to break his shoulder. However, in the movie, we are given a visual of this happening. However, it's not like a saddening plot twist like reveal like in episode 2 of the anime. There are some benefits about this scene. The visual was new and did actually provide some solid context, but you don't really get to feel anything from Tomoya here like in the anime. 15 minutes in, we're breezing through this, a quarter of the way there pretty much. Nagisa tells Tomoya that she has to have Tomoya with her so that she can walk up the hill to school. I found this point kind of weird, considering that I only thought it was supposed to be for the first day that Tomoya had to be with her, for her to gain courage to walk up the hill. At least that's what I thought. Again, benefit of the doubt, don't worry about it. Later on, we are given details as to who Sunahara is, so it mentions stuff like the soccer club, although the story is told a little differently than what is told in the anime. It mentions eviction too, that'll be important later. Anyways, around 18 minutes in, we have ourselves a pretty small time skip, it seems, due to the cherry blossom's pink petals not being present. And they mention Nagisa having a fever pretty abruptly, but whatever, this movie's just like, whatever, that happened, I guess, since Nagisa's all well on the roof of the school. Making art pieces of the Dango family, of course. And this would be for the drama club, so after singing some obnoxious version of the Dango family song, she then mentions her plans of reopening the drama club, so at least this adaptation somewhat sticks to the source material. 22 minutes in, we get this weird scene with Tomoya walking down the road at night. Ernesto Host, which is supposed to be something that pops up out of nowhere in After Story, is present here. It's just here. I'm starting to think that the movie didn't care about the whole things change monologue from the visual novel of the anime. Does it not matter here or something? And Yusuke? Wait a minute, how does Yusuke know Tomoya this early on? I'm assuming no interactions were made up until this point, but unless this is supposed to be a scene in the future, but if that's the case, why show it now of all times, when we're barely done with everything in school, and why not give any sort of indication of a time skip here? That would have been more welcoming. And Yusuke mentions work to him? When has Tomoya worked? This wasn't elaborated on. He didn't even mention anything like that at all so far. There was no sort of indication that Tomoya worked, and no indication that time had passed at all. Tomoya only started working when he graduated in After Story, so I'm sorry, this scene just makes no sense to me. Why would Toei even put this here? And to make things worse, this happens. What is going on? That scene is just... What? I have several questions right now. Why was there no indication of a time skip? Why did they not mention that Tomoya worked? Why is Tomoya working in the case that there was no time skip? And the million-dollar question, what the hell happened there? Okay, just don't question it. Put your mind off it for now. Put your mind off it for now. Almost halfway to the second pause. Let's just continue with the review. Deep breaths. Okay. Everything's all good. Nagisa, Tomoya, and Sunahara put up the posters for the drama club. Everything should be fine. What the? There's a giant red X that has been put on each and every individual poster, and this was done by none other than the student council. And this scene right here is what got me to really dislike Tomoya and Kyo in this movie. Because of their roles in the student council, they try to appear as all high and mighty, super stuck up, and it just seemed like they were made for you to purposefully hate their characters. It's almost like they took the traits from both Tomoya and Kyo and just put what made them lovable aside, and I'm sorry, but they made Tomoya and Kyo in this movie appear like assholes. And because of this whole situation with the posters being invalidated quite harshly by these oh my. Sunahara literally turns into a creature. He just seems like an absolute animal in this movie. So Tomoya and Sunahara are trying to track down whoever is responsible for painting the red X's on the posters and find them, beat his ass. Only for Sunahara to then get beaten by... Is that Coco? What is she doing here? I thought Coco left before Nagisa repeated. Anyways, Coco speaks to Nagisa later on and says that she would need 3 members for the club. 3 members? How convenient there's only 3 members that this movie cares about. Anyways, 3 members. Really? I remember in the anime that the gang needed a lot more than just 3 members. I guess they did that for the sake of convenience like I just said, but I don't know. And wow, not even a sorry from Tomoya or Kyo to Nagisa. What a picture! Coco has faith in Nagisa to start up the club, and this gives her motivation needed to make multiple copies of the poster and try to get everyone in the club, and that failed. That was redundant. And did they only just realize that there were 3 in the group? I'm saying this because she hands submissions to Tomoya and Sunahara. Even if they were reluctant to join, she should have done that from the beginning. Or at least after the first round of posters got invalidated. And it's here that she mentions what she wants to do for the play. Well, kinda. It's supposed to be a 1-woman play, and that's it for now. We'll get more information about it later on. She was like this in the anime too, so she never really fully explained what the play was about. In the end though, Tomoya and Tsunohara ended up joining the drama club to help with Nagisa's cause. Discussions then unfold in the club. Nagisa says that she'll write the piece herself, but then Coco reminds her that she only has about a month to prepare everything for the school festival. 38 minutes in, Nagisa mentions to Tomoya and Tsunohara that they should discuss further while eating dinner at her house, which means they finally get to see Sanai and Akio. 38 minutes in. Tsunohara acts all weird about the offer, saying that he has something important to do, which surprises Tomoya. Tomoya then catches up to Tsunohara, and it's then that Tsunohara mentions that he now has a job. Oh my god, they actually didn't make him a complete bum in this one. Although I will say that this interaction here is pretty decent actually. One of the very times we get to see Tsunohara be a little more serious in this movie. It makes sense for Tsunohara to get a job since earlier they were talking about evicting him from the school dorms, and so he would need to make some money for himself. Does make sense here. And with that, we are already at the second pause, and oh my god. Where do I start? Within the last 30 minutes, something really just peeved me off about this movie. And for this, I did some thinking and had a discussion with myself about what really peeved me off about this movie, other than obviously having a different plot. And that's where it hit me. The adaptation's different plot that Toei had decided to create specifically for this movie. The answer was staring me right in the face. One thing that sort of pissed me off about the plot of this movie is that it was somewhat disorganized. Not to the point where nothing makes sense, but to the point where there are some major inconsistencies for sure. Like some events happening sooner than usual and other things happening a lot later than usual. Some of these inconsistencies may have something to do with the duration of the movie only being 90 minutes compared to the anime's 1100 minutes. So from the first 40 minutes that I have watched in the movie, the plot that was created by Toei to me seemed that it was a pretty decent sized mess. Compared to the linear, clean, organized sort of plotline in the anime that was taken straight from the Nagisa story in the visual novel. The Clannad visual novel and therefore the anime has linear plot lines and there was continuity, no matter what route you were taking, and the same can be said about the anime. I don't necessarily like an anime that does whatever the hell it wants or has plots that are disorganized. Again, I'm a substance over star sort of guy, like I said in my Ishizoku video. But here with the Clannad movie, some things about the plot just don't sit right with me. I understand that Toei was trying to keep some of the main plot points intact, like Nagisa wanting to open the drama club, do a play for the festival. They wanted to work around that with vastly different plotline. However, if the visual novel gave us a plotline which was incredible and allowed you to resonate with each of the characters, why change the plot here? It completely defeats the purpose of what Clannad was trying to do with both the characters and the plot in the first place. Why fix it if it isn't broken? That being said, there could have been many reasons why Toei might have done this. Could have been something to do with the duration, but I digress. Anyways, we're now 40 minutes in, 2/3 done with the review pretty much, and there isn't really much to talk on here. There's about 10 minutes here of the movie which I actually thought was pretty decent compared to the last 40, and those 10 minutes were all in the Furukawa household. We got to meet Sanai and Akio, who were somewhat similar to how they were in the visual novel and the anime. We don't really get to see the scenes where they shine though, unfortunately. And there was an interaction between Nagisa and Tomoya about their own dreams, which will be important for the play scene later on. Anyways, Nagisa's dream is what she'll be basing the play on, and as for Tomoya's dream, we've seen it a few times already. However, we get another scene in the other world where Tomoya sees something called the Tree of Promises and proceeds to chase it. And he might have an idea as to why he is chasing it. Oh, so Tsunohara apparently works with Yusuke now. That's the job he was talking about. And here's where Tomoya gets a job offer too, I guess? Okay, so what was the scene with Yusuke about then? Honestly, that scene, I don't understand it. Anyways, Yusuke's time as a musician gets briefly explained by Tsunohara, so you know, at least we have that. For some reason. Okay, so now we're up to where the school festival starts, about 52 minutes in. Tomoya was worried and still is worried about Nagisa's script not being finished, and Nagisa even confirms herself that it is not finished. But wait, you have it all in your head, then why couldn't you write it all down in time? You knew everything since you said that it was a dream that's always been in your head, so if that's the case, why couldn't you get it all down on paper? I digress. Anyways, Nagisa still wants to do the play, but she is anxious because she's thinking that she caused Tomoya and Tsunohara trouble. However, Tomoya was there to give her some motivation to do the play. She begins to explain that her parents, meaning both Sanai and Akio, were actors, and they put their dreams aside to be together as a family. So, no incident from the visual novel, the anime, I'm not going to talk about because spoilers then. That was the main point of the story, and that's what made the scene in episode 22 emotional, but the movie just says it didn't happen. Okay, it's fine, let's see where they take this then. 60 minutes, a whole hour in, and we finally get the play scene. Tsunohara is manning the light, Tomoya is handling the sound, and Coco is basically conducting it all behind the scenes. The next 6 minutes are actually pretty good. In the anime, the play scene was good too, but it never really went into this much depth. Once we get more than a third of the way in, Tomoya starts to realize that there were connections between his and Nagisa's dreams with the mention of the Tree of Promises, and he found out that they had been having the exact same dream this entire time. The play was basically trying to put them together. After the play, Tomoya then confesses his love for Nagisa then and there, 66 minutes in. And that is all I'm going to be reviewing thoroughly. For the last 24 minutes, I don't really want to spoil anything here because this is basically the after story section of the movie, but all I'll say is it's alright? Very emotional, don't get me wrong, it gets pretty heavy here, but the ending to it it isn't really that satisfying. Okay, now that I've gone through everything that I needed to in this movie, here are my final thoughts. I'll start with some pros worth mentioning. The play scene was probably the best scene in the movie. The way that it was executed was great, and the way that they made Nagisa's dream in the form of the play tie in with Tomoya's dream was nice. I liked that. As for the other good scenes, honorable mention goes to the 10 minutes that Tomoya spent at the Furukawa house. I did sort of like that too. And some scenes did feel more dramatic, especially in the after story section, but by dramatic that doesn't necessarily mean it was a tearjerker to me like it was in the anime. I may know exactly why this is, but I'll talk about that later. The main problem I have with the movie here is for the first 50 minutes, everything just felt like there wasn't really much to be hyped about. Personality wise, they did get Tsunohara's and Tomoya's personalities just right here. Something is a bit off with Nagisa's, but she seems to have the same sort of motives and everything, so I'd say she's about 90% like she is in the visual novel in the anime. The same can definitely not be said for Kyo, Tomoyo, and Gatomi. I really did not like how Toei treated Kyo and Tomoyo in this movie. From the first impressions to Tomoyo and Tsunohara, it honestly just made the two look like they were so stuck up, and it was like they were purposely made for you to not like their characters, like I said before. They took the traits from both characters and used them poorly, and unknowingly made them hateable characters from the start. Maybe things were resolved afterward, but I don't know. From that scene, I couldn't really like their characters after that. It was such a downgrade. And speaking of downgrades, Katomi, Jesus Christ. It's like she's not even in the movie. She's not a main character anymore. She only gets a few seconds of screen time that aren't even relevant to anything at all. I'm super disheartened by what they did to her in the movie, as she is my favorite character in all of Clannad. And she was actually super important in the anime's plot. She had a well-defined role, and for her to be downgraded like that, I call that committing sacrilege. Literally. Now again, no spoilers for the after story section, but I'd say that section in particular is okay. I didn't really have much to say about it other than, wow, it's dramatic. But the ending to the movie just... there's nothing here, nothing to make you feel anything. There wasn't any sort of satisfaction you got from this ending. Sure, Tomoya does meet Ushio for the first time in 5 years, and he is happy. It's a happy ending, but there's nothing really to feel from it. Again, I'll get to why in a minute. I have quite a few problems with the movie that just did not make a lick of sense to me, like for example the interaction with Yusuke that I've been talking about the majority of the time in this review. That happened inexplicably, it came out of nowhere. It made the whole timeline of events in this movie, which was pretty linear up until that point, feel pretty disorganized. The movie does follow the same sort of premise as the anime. Nagisa wants to open the drama club again, she wants to put on a play for the festival, you know, the main points from the story. And this isn't counting any side character arcs or anything, as they're not here in this one. It's just this premise and this premise only. No roadblocks, no other interactions, nothing really to keep things interesting or add some depth or variety. Just one goal. The argument can be made that the movie is supposed to be a little more realistic, but that's not what Clannad is even about. Clannad isn't meant to be realistic whatsoever, so to sum things up, you don't gain an experience from the movie like with the 47 main episodes of the anime, or the hours put into the visual novel. The movie just seems like a half-assed story made by Toei themselves, which is meant to feel like the story of the game, but it just doesn't work. I don't think 90 minutes is enough to cover the content in Clannad. There's just too much important content within Clannad, it just doesn't seem feasible to cram everything about Clannad into a 90-minute movie. I'm really glad that KyoAni picked up the pieces and put together the jigsaw. The anime is an amazing adaptation, and should you give that version a watch? Absolutely. I can guarantee that you won't be disappointed by KyoAni's Clannad anime. With that being said, here is my honest score for the other adaptation, the Clannad movie. In conclusion, 5 out of 10. Not bad, not that great either. Wouldn't recommend the watch, just watch the anime or play the visual novel. Okay. Phew. That was long. Hopefully not as long as the Ishizoku video, although saying that I'm probably thinking it is. But yeah, I did it. I actually talked about Clannad on my channel. Why did I not do that before? I'm not even sure myself. Anyways, I think our time is just about up, so thank you so much for watching this commentary of the Clannad movie. I also want to say thank you so much for the amazing reception that the Ishizoku video got. I never thought that I would ever make a video that came close to 20 minutes long, and I couldn't have done it without Mr. Hydrotoxic over here. You may know him from his guest appearance in LTA episode 3 from last year, but he also makes content from time to time. Dude, you should probably upload content again. But honestly, he's a pretty good editor, and I'm happy about how the Ishizoku video looked, and I'm pretty hyped for how this one is going to turn out. Anyways, I'm heading off. I'm tired. I did a Clannad finally. You happy, Indigo? You happy, Marco? You happy, Clannad stands? Okay, I'm hitting the hay. See you guys.